our CEO and original founder, is going to be leading us in our next session. Megan, thank you so much. And I'm really excited to hear this because it says how to turn big ideas into big actions. And this is literally what today's all about. So we'll let you take it from here.
And this is one of, I have to say, this is such a special panel because one of my mentors for years and years, and somebody I look up to in business, is moderating it. I'd love to bring Rob on. He's the founder and CEO of LivePerson. And Rob, of all the people that I know in the industry, you have turned big ideas on so many levels into massive, massive actions. And just for some context, I would just love to talk, just give the audience some context on how you started as an entrepreneur, when you started as an entrepreneur, kind of, all the mission, the big mission that you've had with in your life and all the and now. So take us back.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. First, I admire you and everything that you've done with FounderMate. I just think it's extraordinary. And panel of women that we have today is also an extraordinary panel. I started, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, I guess, or semi-serial. I started my first company out of college in 1990, 91. It was a kiosk company for college campuses, but it went under in 95 and I lost everything. I put 50,000 on credit cards and ended up broke. And then, I saw the internet as something I thought could be pretty big in 95 and moved to New York City with no money. I was in Baltimore where I started, but moved to New York City and ended up sleeping on a couch. And a guy who sublet his small office to me was making t-shirts. And I decided I would make that my home. And I ended up sleeping on a couch for 2 years. And I invented when you chat online. So if you've ever gone online and chatted for customer care on a website, I invented that technology in 97. And then I took the company public in 2000 in the middle of the dot-com. I was kind of the end of the dot-com. And then it was tough, went through laying off about 70, 80% of the company in 2001. And today, we're the leader in providing AI-based messaging systems to 18,000 companies around the world. We're about a $4 billion market cap company, $500 million in revenues, growing about 38%, and 1,500 employees. So I started on a couch alone and built it up. And I know that the journey of being an entrepreneur is not a straight line journey. It's definitely a squiggly line. And I really admire people who take this journey and follow their purpose, like yourself and the people we have on the panel. So I'm really happy to serve here as the moderator.
Oh, awesome. And you have a podcast that everyone should be listening to, Over the Wall. And I think that there's some themes that you're going to kind of talk to your panelists about, how they got over the wall. So I'll let you introduce the rest of the panel and thanks so much.
Great. So I guess we can start with Suzanne Summers. And maybe if everyone could put their videos on.
Okay. Hi there.
And just for the record, Suzanne, I have to say this, but I had a crush on you as the character. I literally called up my best friend like 10 minutes ago. I'm talking to Suzanne Summers. Of all the people I've met in the world, I guess I'd be most nervous around you.
Wow, thank you. I'll calm you down.
And what you've accomplished in your life and everything with health and wellness, by the way, just pretty extraordinary. And the things that you've gone through in your life, I just think is extraordinary. So just want to set that up.
What a nice way to start the interview. You're in good company. I was in Israel last year and I had a private meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And he comes up to me and he says, I know all about the books. He said, I've been watching you for 25 years. I said, how's that? He said, for the longest time in Israel, we had one television station and we had one sitcom. So there you go. I really appreciate being on this. In order to explain how I am doing what I'm doing today, I've got to give you a little context. Because I believe that all negatives are opportunities if you choose to look at it that way. So a lot of the things that happened in my life could have knocked me down and ended everything, but it started, and I've written several books about it. I've written 27 books, this dumb blonde over here. And several of them were about being raised by a violent alcoholic father, in where we had to hide in a closet at night and never could learn anything because I'd go to school so tired. And when the nuns, I went to Catholic school, would say, don't your parents make you do your homework? And I think, if you only knew what went on in our house at night. And that first book that I wrote is called Keeping Secrets. And it culminated for me one night when my mother had made me my first fancy dress for my first junior prom. And it was all peach and pink sequins on the top. I always like sequins. And a beautiful chiffon skirt, one layer of peach and one layer of pink. The women listening will know it was a beautiful dress. And I went to bed and I had it hanging over the closet door so I could just stare at it and think about tomorrow night. And my father, in one of his violent episodes, had gotten jealous of watching my mother and I work on this dress. He comes into my room and he starts ripping up my prom dress. And my mother came in screaming, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And he punched her in the breast and she went down. And I saw a white light of rage, which was the first time I ever fought back for myself. And I had a tennis racket. I don't even know why, because I didn't play tennis, but I picked up this tennis racket and with all my might, I hit him over the head to stop him from hurting my mother. And I gave him a concussion. Blood was everywhere. She dragged him out of the house. But what I realized, the reason I'm telling that story, is it gave me what I call the all show use. He always told me I was stupid and hopeless and worthless and nothing, and you're a big O. That night, that one act with that tennis racket was me standing up at 16 years old saying, no more, no more, and I'm going to show you. And so that was the beginning of a journey that has had a lot of highs and lows, as yours, as all of ours. We're going to be on this panel today. And I got pregnant at 18, very shameful thing. First time I ever had sex, if it even was sex. And I was sent away and my mother didn't want anyone to know this terrible thing I had done. And I gave birth to this baby. And the first words that came out of my mouth at 18 years old, when they pulled him from my body, I looked in his little scared eyes and I said, I promise I'm going to make a good life for you. And I have. And today he's successful. He's not an alcoholic. He's not a drug addict. He's got a family. He's got a business. He's done it on his own. So something in us is instinctual. And I believe that you can turn all negatives into positives. So I got discovered by Johnny Carson in the commissary at NBC. I don't know how many people can say that. It was 1973. And I'd written my first book of poetry. I don't know how I got it published, but it was about feelings and emotions. And Johnny Carson walks into the commissary, and I was the only one there. And he walks right up to me. He says, "Hey, little lady, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I just auditioned for the Dom DeLuise show, and I've got a call back." He said, "Oh, I hope you get it." And I didn't even have an 8x10 at that time, but I had this little book of poetry. And I handed it to him, just like shoved it into his hands. And that was Wednesday. On Friday night of that same week, I made my national television debut on The Tonight Show. And I thought, oh, they must love my poetry. But I had one credit because I was working as an extra in movies because I had no skills. And I had gotten a very small part in what turned out to be part of a lifetime as the mysterious blonde in the Thunderbird in American Graffiti. And so that was my only credit on the back flap of the book. And I heard Johnny Carson say, "We've all been wondering who the mysterious blonde in the Thunderbird is. Well, we found her." And they opened the curtain and the audience went, "Woo." And I was so nervous. And I sat next to him and he loved that I was small town, authentic. He said, "When did you get to town?" I said, "Today." You know, kids are little. If you talk to a kid on the phone, you go, "What are you doing?" They go, "Talking on the phone." That led to, he was booking me every month. He just loved talking to me because it was authentic. This will all work into what I'm doing today. And he said every month he'd have me read poems to him. And my book became the #1 best-selling book of poetry in America, along with Rod McEwen. How does this happen? And one of these many times, now I had been on every audition, I've been extras in movies, and I was a failure in my business. But one of those times, or maybe many times, the president of ABC was watching, and they were launching a new show called Three's Company. And they had tried several girls. They had actually done pilots with 2 girls, and neither of them tested well. And Fred Silverman was his name. And he said, I got the girl. He said, I see her on the Tonight Show all the time. And that is how I ended up on Three's Company, the greatest gig you could ever have. And I remember thinking, oh, dumb blondes are so irritating. How do I make a dumb blonde that you will like today, Rob? And I gave her a moral code and a circuitous route to logic that it all made sense to her, you know? And I did so well on that show. I was on around 55 national magazine covers every year. And by year 6, it was time to renegotiate. But they had just renegotiated for Laverne and Shirley, who what I call they gave ABC a colonic. And they decided when it was time for me to renegotiate that they were going to make an example, that no woman in television would ever dare ask to be paid parity with the men. The men were making 10 to 15 times more than me, including John. And I thought, he's great. He's absolutely great. But is he 15 times greater? And we went in and asked for what was fair to be commensurate with the men. And they fired me for asking. And at that time, no woman stood up for me. I don't hold it against anybody because they're all afraid to speak up, you know. And I decided to hold my head up high and kind of override the negative publicity. She's greedy. Who does she think she is? All of this. I couldn't get a job in television anymore, which was a shame, but maybe not. I had to reinvent. And that led to my journey of reinventing. I went to Las Vegas, used the star power I had from being on the #1 show in the country and also in many parts of the world, clearly Israel. And I sold out at the MGM Grand, 2 shows a night. I was named Female Entertainer of the Year in 1987, along with Frank Sinatra, which was kind of a fun person to be aligned with. And I started this thing, which is take the biggest negatives in your life and turn it into something positive. So the next thing that happened to me after that was getting breast cancer. I was one of the first people in my generation to get breast cancer. It was on the CBS News, Larry King. So I asked myself at that time, what have I done in my diet and lifestyle to play host to this terrible disease? And I started looking at the chemicalization of us. And ever since we started putting poison on our food and poison in our cosmetics and poison in the air and poison what we cleaned our houses with, the graph goes up. The cancer is now an epidemic. Nobody wants to admit that. So I decided I would eat as though my life depended on it, only organic food. I would only use organic products. I would never, again, knowingly use any chemical on or in my body. And that led to the business that I have today. I have a very underserved demographic. They're from 45 to 80. I wrote several books on hormone replacement, which no doctors even know about, but I needed them, so I did the research for myself and taught them about bioidentical hormones, biologically identical to the human hormone, an exact replica of what your body once made or still makes a little of. Well, it hit a nerve with women who were feeling terrible, women who were my age, who couldn't sleep. I call it the 7 dwarves of menopause. Itchy, bitchy, sleepy, sweaty, bloated, forgetful, and all dried up. And I said, have any of those dwarves moved into your house? Well, the response was, yes, I have the whole team in my house. And so they started going. I made lists of qualified doctors, wrote books about it, explained how it works, and garnered the trust of this underserved demographic. Then that led to the Suzanne Organic Cosmetics, Suzanne Organics skincare, Suzanne Organics household cleaning products, all good for you products. Like I have makeup on right now that I use that has no chemicals in it. If I went to sleep in it, it wouldn't be good for my skin, but it wouldn't harm me in any way. So that's where I am today. I have this great platform of, I sell my age. I'm 74. And usually when you're 74, you hide your age. You can't lie about your age anyway, but it's my asset. Because I've been on hormone replacement, because I beat cancer, because I lead a chemical-free life, because I have love in my life, because I know the brain believes everything you tell it, I feed my brain only with positive thoughts. If the bad stuff comes in, I push it right out. It won't serve me well. And I have 3 Facebook Live shows a week, understanding that women or men don't like to drink alone. So we have 3 cocktail parties a week. 5 o'clock, come to my site, have a tequila with me and my husband, Al. We, get a little buzz going. I talk about health, about what chemicals are doing to us. I talk about all the things that they want to know about. And part of it is just fun. And it is just such a great thing to do 3 times a week. It forces me to get pretty. I don't have to leave home, which has been good during this pandemic. And that's how I got to where I am today.
It's just such an awesome, inspiring story. I appreciate you sharing with you. I agree with you on the, I feel like we don't own our bodies.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, we let other people own the knowledge, and I see you do gut stuff on your, I see you have gut stuff, not stuff, but
right, gut renew. Well, that
renewal. And I've had some issue. I have many information, and we don't have to go on that topic, but I just think it's amazing what you're doing, because getting people to own their bodies, understand that they just can't hand over traditional medicine, that you can have cancer and beat it. You can take care of your body. That, I think it's amazing. So we'll dig into it a little bit, but
I appreciate you bringing up the gut, because I think it's very important to listen to your constituency. And so the great thing about the Facebook Live and Instagram and YouTube platforms that I have, and several others, is that they are allowed to ask questions. And when I see a continuing theme, the most recent theme this year is I'm constipated, I'm bloated, unexplained weight gain, stringy hair, all gut issues. I never feel good. And so we put together this smoothie powder with a scientist that we worked with, all the ingredients that you and I haven't had today. Have you had any Jerusalem artichoke today? Probably not. And marshmallow root and all these things that help to heal the leaks in the barrier wall that makes the GI tract work at optimum ultimately. And one of my big successes was the Thigh Master. This Gut Renew smoothie powder that we have on our website is probably going to be bigger than the Thigh Master, for which we stopped counting at 10 million units sold.
I forgot you did. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to give you other comments.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want to okay,
yes.
So, and I'm going to go to you. I actually got the hatch 2 days ago. My son, who just like wakes up in the middle of the night and stuff, just my wife like pushed me to go at 3 o'clock. I put it in his room, loves it. Okay, he's 3 years old.
Oh.
I just want I don't know how far it's going to go. I'm 2 days into it. Megan gave me this. Thank you, Megan. But I just want to promote it. Seems like an awesome product. So, getting me a night's sleep. I'm thanking you for that. So, obviously, founder, co-founder, CEO. You want to talk about what you did, your journey to get here?
Sure, I'm happy to talk about Hatch. Thanks for having me. It's a lot of fun to be here. So Hatch is at Hatch we help people get good sleep. As you know, Suzanne was mentioning her passion about wellness. We fall squarely into the same realm. We believe that wellness is every bit. Diet and exercise are very important, but sleep we now realize is incredibly important to us being healthy, both physically, mentally, emotionally. And we are primarily known for our product called Rest, which is a product that helps babies and kids get good sleep. It's a nightlight sound machine and time to rise device. So it helps parents not to be the bad guy. You get your kid will stay in his or her room until a reasonable hour with the help of Rest. And it is the most registered for product on Amazon, most registered for product on Target. It is incredible, and I am so grateful for all the support we have from all the lovely parents out there. And we also have a product called Restore, which is a product that we created for adults to get good sleep. It's also a bedside device and is a sound machine. And it's also a device that delivers content so that you can wind down, fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up feeling rested. As far as my journey to get here, this is my second venture-backed startup. There have been ups and there have been downs. I guess I'll pause though, so that you can introduce the rest of the panel. I feel like that's probably a good thing to do.
Jude, do you want to go Hero Cosmetics? Also, I haven't had pimples in a while, but obviously the Mighty Patch is like, I can imagine how much you sell of this. Awesome product again, like great vision. I love what you're doing. So, but I didn't get to. I like to use everyone's products, but didn't have people yet.
Send you some. I'll send you
some.
some.
But maybe you can talk about how'd you create the company? Where'd you start? Give us a little background.
Sure. So I'm Ju, co-founder, CEO of Hero Cosmetics. We are best known for our Mighty Patch hydrocolloid acne patches. I have a really soft place in my heart for FounderMade because FounderMade was the first trade show that we did when we were just starting out. I didn't have a lot of money to spend on marketing. I made like 2 bets, and one of them was FounderMade, and it worked out really well because I connected with so many investors and buyers, a lot of whom I still keep in touch with. So I really credit FounderMade for giving us a start. But yeah, since then, we sell a box of Mighty Patch every 15 seconds, over 3 million boxes sold in over 8,000 doors. Our mission really is to help people reclaim their skin confidence, because when people break out, they tend to feel really bad about themselves. And so we want to make products that help people feel good about their skin, really regain that confidence in their skin. And so we've really come out with a whole bunch of products that treat every type of pimple at every stage, before, during, and after. And we started in 2017. We bootstrapped for the first 3 years. We're based in New York, and glad to be here.
Awesome. And Katie, last but not least, co-founder of FabFitFun. Maybe you can talk a little about what you're doing. It's these boxes which come with all these awesome items, and you talk about how you built the company and everything. Let's turn it over to you.
Sure. So hi, I'm Katie. I am the co-founder and editor-in-chief of FabFitFun. Our mission is really to deliver happiness and well-being to everyone, everywhere. My background is in content. I was a writer for about 10 years before starting FabFitFun with my 2 co-founders. And we actually launched as a media brand, and I'm going to date myself a little bit. But if you think about, media 10, 11 years ago, it was really ruled by glossy magazines that were very much a directive of, what women were supposed to look like and how they were supposed to act. And, as a Puerto Rican, Jewish, chubby, curly-haired girl who definitely did not fit those stereotypes, we wanted to be something different. We wanted to be more like, your best friend giving you tips and tricks to your sort of best life. And we ran it as a media brand, for about 3 years, built up a really nice following, quickly realized that at least at that time, media was a pretty tough business to be in. Every magazine was sort of shutting down. Every newsletter was, closing its doors, and, really wanted to, create the next evolution of the business. And we really fell in love with the idea of subscription. There were a couple sort of beauty sample boxes that had become really popular. And for me as an editor, I loved getting packages in the mail. I loved trying new things, but I'm also really cheap. So the idea of paying for a sample that I could get for free at Sephora just seemed a little bizarre, not to mention, we believe that women were, interested in things sort of beyond beauty and really wanted to give them something that could fit their needs holistically. So, we launched the box in 2013, that really became the rebirth of the company. But we really believe in, even then, and certainly today, we are so much more than just a box. We love the box, but it's really just a reimagined way of shopping and discovering products with a ton of value. And we're, a huge marketing platform for our box partners. As I mentioned, we started in media. We really think of ourselves as storytellers. So we do tons of promotion for the brands in our box. Not to mention that, our box orders are really large, starting at 500,000 units. That means that, the combination of that rather means that we can get these products pretty inexpensively. And all of that value then goes back to our members, not to mention that, the storytelling piece of all of it, bringing the brand to life through content and social, highlighting ingredients, tutorials, founder chats, just why these are the must-have products creates a whole sort of another layer of value. But the box is just the entry point for the membership. We're truly a community of women, and we've built our own social media platform where members can connect, become friends, discover products. We also have a robust e-com program. And our goal is really to merge content, community, and commerce to create a membership that works for everyone and makes you feel happy and connected to yourself and others.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Everyone's got great energy on this panel. I gotta tell you, I just want to hang out with all of you in my morning. So like sometimes I wake up a little foggy. If I can have all you guys, we'll do a Zoom together and put up the energy. I'm in.
Lots of enthusiasm.
Exactly. I want to ask a question, and I've got about 3 or 4 questions, but we'll see if we get through. We all know that taking the entrepreneurial journey is a windy road, and most of the time when people externally look in, it looks like we went from point A to point B to point C and success, and wow, we're fabulous, but we know we don't feel fabulous a lot. We struggle a lot. So my first question to the panel is like, is there one of the walls, and I do this on my podcast called Over the Wall, where I say we hit these walls and I feel like they're put there to take the fakers out, and then we got to learn ways to get over them, around them, or through them. So maybe if you could talk about a wall you hit while building the company and what you did to get around that, I think it'd be really valuable to the audience. Anyone who wants to jump in?
Yeah, I'll start. I operate on the assumption that walls are an opportunity, because I like to turn every negative into an opportunity. When I hit a wall, I realize I've kind of gone as far as I can go in that direction. It's probably now to turn right or left, and I keep using the word reinvent. I find that again, I bring up my constituency, that they start telling me when they've heard enough of that and they want to go, in another direction. I think Ju and I have something very much in sync, in that she's taking care of what happens on the skin on the outside, and I'm handling what's happening to the gut on the inside, which is usually where all skin problems and autoimmunes, originate. And just turning every negative into an opportunity. I'm going to have to send people over to get Ju's skincare for their outbreaks from their gut. I'll heal the gut.
I'll send you some too.
Yeah.
Maybe Ju, if you want to pick up the baton from Suzanne, what wall did you hit? Yeah.
The first thing that came to mind was I had this idea. So I discovered Mighty Patch when I was living in Korea, or I discovered acne patches when I was living in Korea. And that was like, I don't know, 2013-ish. And I thought, wow, this product is so amazing. I really want more people to know about it. They need to know about it. So I was really determined to launch this acne patch brand. I was doing it by myself. I had a name. I found a designer. I found a manufacturer. I had all the pieces, and then I just stopped. I just felt intimidated. It was a lot of money that I had to put in to start this company. I wasn't sure. I just had a lot of self-doubt, I guess. And then and I'm taking a job actually, and then like a year or two later, I was having lunch or dinner with one of my co-founders now. I was like, you know what, I just have this idea. It's an idea that keeps nagging at me. And he said, you know what, if you want to do it, I'll do it with you. And I think that was sort of, the wall that I hit was sort of the self-doubt, I guess, the first go about. And then it wasn't until I had sort of community or someone else who was willing to take the risk with me, where I felt ready to really give it a go and also have the accountability to actually take the next steps. And then, that's when we really actually launched Mighty Patch and really launched the brand Hero Cosmetics.
Thanks. Can I say
Katie?
something to Ju once more?
Yeah, absolutely.
I spent quite a bit of time in South Korea because I had the privilege of entertaining US soldiers over there. We went to Panmunjom. But my first experience in South Korea, this was very important to me because I'd already had cancer. And the first restaurant I went to, I said, do you have anything that's organic? And she said, all our food in Korea is organic. And I went, wow, that's so evolved. So anyway, thank you. I just wanted to tell you that.
Awesome. Katie, how about you? Do you remember a particular time? Obviously, you started out in content, and the media side, and then you make your way into what you're doing today and media. But do you remember something specifically that you thought, man, I don't know about this, or you had doubt around it?
Yeah, I mean, I will say so many times, and they continue to happen today. And I think anyone who tells you differently is probably not telling you the complete truth. But certainly in the beginning, when we were launching FabFitFun as a subscription box, I think brands were really confused about what we were trying to do because we were pitching them on something that just didn't exist yet. And having to have just a ton of sort of tenacity and persistence to get through all of the no's to finally get to the yeses was certainly a bit of a struggle. And I will say, honestly, there's elements today that almost the opposite is true. Now that we have over 2 million members, thinking about how we then find products to satisfy this increasingly diverse group of women, just becomes a huge new challenge. And that's why we introduced, full customization within the boxes, where members can now pick products based on their own needs and taste. So almost like a prefix menu, if you will, where we're just sort of curating the best of the best collections each season.
Great.
Hey, can I say one more thing to Katie? Me and my big mouth. It's such an incredible concept because women love presents. I remember before there were catalogs, the first catalog I ever received was the Tiffany catalog. Remember that? And it's just filled with stuff you don't need. But because you could order it and then a few days later, it would come in your mailbox. It was a present. And even though you paid for it, it was this present. And now you've built a business on it. I think that's incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely more fun than getting a bill in the mail. I would say that for sure. And I do think, look, as women, we tend to be really good at taking care of other people. We tend to be less great at taking care of ourselves. And we just want to be, an easy way to put that fun and self-care back into a woman's life.
Yeah, great.
Maybe I can, and if I can ask you a question about being a woman entrepreneur, and what do you think there's challenges in that, and how when you think about the funding still today, venture capitalists there's still a lot of men in that, not a lot of women, still not as many women and men not as entrepreneurs. It's changing, and we all need that. But do you think, what's your perspective on being a woman entrepreneur? What's it like being in this sort of, let's say it's a male world, it's definitely in the male world, but in venture and all that, have you seen any challenges with that? And
by the way, I think it's totally fair to say that it's a male world. I mean, there definitely are way more men raising venture than there are women, and there are way more men writing checks than women. So I think that's totally good. So the way I advise a lot of female entrepreneurs and male entrepreneurs, but for the women, what I say is, the reality is there is data that says that, it is, women are perceived differently than men when we go to raise, and that is the objective truth. That said, if you put that in your head when you're raising, it does you no good, right? It only serves to hinder your ability to be effective. So the way I deal with it now is I don't, because the reality is our results speak for themselves. We have doubled every year in the 7 years we've been around. We are a profitable business. We are the number one most registered for product when it comes to babies. We are the most used when it comes to kids. We are growing like crazy when it comes to adult sleep. So once you get past the seed stage, I think the results speak for themselves, and you live or die on the merits of your business. But I will say, in the early days, it is much harder. And by the way, I also am a venture capitalist at a firm called True Ventures, and we write seed stage checks. And the reality is, it is harder, I think, as a woman than a man. Like we pattern match when we look to write checks, and with no ill intent, it just happens that we are more used to seeing the patterns of young male, often white male, who have been successful, and so we pattern match that. That said, there is incredible opportunity right now for women. Particularly, given that we understand a massive part of the population much better than our male counterparts, there's a ton of opportunities. So I'm very optimistic. I think things are changing in a really lovely way. And there, as you see here, are incredible examples of people who are building massive businesses led by women. So I'm very encouraged.
On our panel, who has children on the panel? Okay, so I'll jump to Katie, then Susan. Katie, you're being a mom and running a company. Like I stayed single till I was 47 because I didn't have it in me to have a family. And so I got married 6 years ago. And so I often think, like, what's that like? If there are women who want to be entrepreneurs, they've got families, maybe they want to even leave the workplace to be an entrepreneur, but they've got that thing in their life that's so important. And I'm just curious of any advice there.
I mean, I will say I'm a crazy person because my older daughter was literally born the same month that we launched the boxes, because timing is clearly my strong suit. But it's never easy. And I think, when I had my first baby, I was very sort of nervous about what that meant in the sort of business world. And I remember, like, I didn't actually go on a real maternity leave. Most founders don't have that luxury. But on the days that I was, either home with my daughter, or I'd bring her into the office and I'd be on a conference call and she'd start to cry, and I'd try and sort of hold her away from the phone because I, for some reason, felt insecure that she was with me. And I look back now and it was so silly, because the reality is most of us are dealing with having kids. Most of us are going to deal with outside responsibilities in addition to our work life. And I think, for me, I was so worried about getting everything right and perfecting both, what I was doing at work, trying to be the best mom, that I was never really present. And that was a real challenge. And it's actually taken me quite a while to realize it's okay to not be perfect at all things all the time, and really to understand that accepting help, whether that's from your team or your family, is a necessity. It always takes a village to build anything. That includes a business and a family, and that is totally okay. And I think for sometimes as women, it can be a little bit harder to accept that help, but I think, it's something that we all need to do.
I actually wanted to jump in, and sorry to cut you off, Rob. I really wanted to give you a special thank you, Rob, for leading this conversation. Suzanne, and what, incredible. Katie, Ju, and Anne, thank you so much for being here. And again, so sorry to have to jump in, but it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.